Hey, welcome to Mind Your Own Biz, the podcast where we help small business owners with big dreams build something authentically you. I'm Alicia Yervis, educator, marketer, designer, nacho enthusiast, and your big sister in business. I'm excited for us to have this cozy spot to chat. Each episode, we'll tackle candid conversations, actionable tips, and a few fun tangents to help you run your business your way. Because business is always personal, no matter what anyone says. So grab your iced coffee or those nachos, and let's get started. Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Mind Your Own Biz. My name is Alicia Yervis, and I am your host. And today's episode is one for my quiet queens, the overthinkers, the observers, the deep feeling introverts who wonder if they really can build a business that works without being on all the time. I do get this a lot from my students, from my social media folks. I don't want to show my face. I have no idea what to say. I'm shy. Does that mean I can't market myself or my business? I definitely think feeling that way is extremely normal. Like that discomfort that we just have. I know it's hard to step out of your comfort zone and market all the things that you're working so hard on, and just you yourself as the person behind the scenes of the business, right? I know how hard that can be when you're introverted or when you just have low confidence. Of course, we're wrestling with imposter syndrome and all the things. Um, and we're going to talk about that today with my guest. But I just want to give you a real quick win at the top of the episode, and just remind you that testimonials and online reviews and words from happy clients and colleagues, those can do some of the talking for you, which is always really helpful when you are nervous to do the talking for your business. So if you have not yet grabbed my free Star Power Guide, it's all about how to turn your client feedback into marketing magic. So head to aliciayervis.com/star power to grab it. It's free. I think you'll love it. It'll just help you understand how to leverage those kind words that your happy customers are sending your way, or posting in a Google review, or sharing on social media, or dropping you an email or a text to tell you. You could turn those into plugs for your business. Turn them into marketing content and advertising content. So, grab that free guide, aliciayervis.com/star power. Okay, so now let's get into today's conversation. My guest, Inga Fay, is here to share her journey as a soft-spoken powerhouse, from engineer to authenticity strategist, and how she's helping introverted women thrive in business using strategies that actually feel good. So here's a little more about Inga in her own words. Inga Faison-Cavett, aka Inga Fay, is an authenticity strategist. She left her engineering career to follow her entrepreneurial spirit and now pursues her dream life full of faith, family, freedom, flexibility, and fitness. She's in the top 5% of her direct sales company and has earned 2 cars and 4 diamond rings. She enjoys empowering female entrepreneurs with introverted tendencies to live their best life and helps them scale their business using authentic lead generation and sales strategies that treat people like humans and not numbers. So I'm very excited to welcome Inga Fay. So, hi, Inga. I'm so glad that you're here. One of the first things that you had said to me when we were chatting through email back and forth was how much you care about showing introverts that they can succeed in business, but by being true to themselves. And that really hit home for me. So, I want to rewind a little bit. What was the moment that made you finally say, like, okay, I'm leaving engineering, I'm going all in on my business? I would love to hear about that.
Well, yeah. So the moment that that happened was when I got laid off. And I guess at that point, it was kind of a crossroads for me. I could go and get another engineering job, or I could walk out my dream that I have always had, but was just kind of scared to walk it out. So that's really when it hit home for me that
Hmm.
this was the time for me to do it because if I don't do it now, it will never happen. And I didn't want to be on my deathbed thinking, oh, what if I would have,
Hmm.
could have, should have done this? Because at that time, it would have been no time for me to actually pursue that. So I wanted
Hmm.
to go in knowing that I was doing something that I felt that I was really called to do. And however it turned out, I knew that it was my calling and that I was going to walk it out, regardless of the fear of the unknown and wondering if I was going to succeed. Because that's oftentimes what hold people back is that they're fearful of the unknown. And of course, our minds are naturally negative to protect us. So when we think about the unknown, it's typically something negative. It's not, oh, I can just blow up and be this $1 million person that's helping all of these women grow and expand in their business as a result of being an introvert and not feel like they were second class to extroverts, that they could really walk out who they truly are. So yeah, I mean, that's really what
I
it came down to.
I definitely want to talk about the introvert struggle specifically, but something that you just said popped out at me. Um, the thing that we all experience, or so many of us experience, about that our minds can sometimes like naturally be negative. And I'm wondering, why do you think that is? Why do you think that comes up, particularly with entrepreneurial life? Because I've experienced that for sure, where,
Right.
you know, you think something, you have grand plans, you're excited to do the thing, but kind of your mind starts going on this detour. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it is because it's not the norm. I mean, if it was the
Hmm.
norm, then we wouldn't have those negative feelings. Do people that go to school, get their degree, work for XYZ company for 30 plus years and get their gold watch, do they feel negative about that? No, because that's what everybody else has been doing. I mean, that's what I was taught to do. And when I was doing in that, it was fine because that's what everybody was doing. But I realized that when I was in that path, I wasn't happy. I felt like I all of my good energy was being given to someone else's dream and not my own. That when I came home and wanted to work on my dream, because that was oftentimes what people told me, "Oh, Inga, you can work on your dream business or your business part time." Well, if I'm working on it part time, I'm not giving it all of me, and I'm missing out on the things that it could actually grow into because I'm not giving it my best energy, which is during the day when I'm able to focus and really create and innovate um, while I'm working. So yeah, that was the biggest thing for me because it's not the norm. I mean,
Hmm.
nobody, if it's something that everybody else is doing, it's cool to do, right? It's like, oh, well, Susie Q did this, and I saw my parents do this, and they obviously were successful. So yeah, I can do that too. But because it stands out, and most of the time when you hear about entrepreneurship, people are just like, oh my gosh, why would you do that? Well, I mean,
Hmm.
I got that a lot. Why would you leave a six-figure job and do entrepreneurship? Why would you even do that?
Hmm.
That's really what it comes down to. Now, does that mean entrepreneurship is not going to have its trials and tribulations, its up and downs, its hills and valleys? Of course not, because that's all a part of it.
Yeah.
That's the part that makes you grow into that person that makes $1 million or is able to influence thousands because of the trials and tribulations that you go through. And that's another thing that I think we have a tendency to look down on is failure. I know before I thought failure was bad, but as an entrepreneur, I know failure is good because that's the
Hmm.
only way that you learn. Failure is learning because when you're successful, you learn nothing.
Hmm.
It's success is definitely for the ego. So when you fail, that's when it's just like, oh, okay, well, I can't do that now. So I guess I got to try this something else. I got to try it this way. And if I do it this way, maybe this will work. And it may not
Hmm.
work, but you got to try it and see. And that's the whole part of it too. It's not a sure thing. And I think
Hmm.
at times a job could be a sure thing because you know you're getting paid on the 15th or the 30th or however your pay schedule is. But when you're an entrepreneur, you got to really say, okay, how am I going to make this cash register ring today? How am I going
Hmm.
to do that? It's a
Hmm.
total different mindset. Totally.
Yes. That was really hard for me to adjust to when I went full time was the feeling of, yeah, not knowing when the next dollar was going to come in, not getting you no longer have that reassurance that every 2 week, like you said, pay period. But I love the reframe that you gave us about, that failure as an entrepreneur is actually a good thing because you're learning. I love that so much, and I believe that. It's hard sometimes to remember that in the moment when you're
Right.
feeling crummy, but you're totally right. Like there have been many things in my business that I was like, well, that was a flop. Okay, but then the cool thing after something like that happens is you have had the experience, but you also maybe have some data that can help you for the next thing,
Yep.
to just keep it going. So, with your experience, you have talked about how you've struggled with like the usual sales training that didn't really fit your personality.
Yep.
And what did that look like early on for you? What were some of the struggles that were popping up where you were realizing like, this isn't really made for me?
Um, okay, so when I started my entrepreneur journey, I started in direct sales. And
Hmm.
oftentimes I was told that when you go and talk, when you meet somebody, that you want to give them a sincere compliment. And then based on giving them a sincere compliment, then you can ask ask questions, kind of pre-qualify them to determine if they're your person or not. Well, as an introvert, me just walking up to somebody and just talking to them about um, whatever they're wearing or giving them a sincere compliment, maybe, and it really wasn't something that was really passionate for me, was hard because I expended all of this energy to talk to somebody because as introverts, we gain energy when we're by ourselves and we expend energy when we're interacting. So I've worked all day, so I've done a lot of interaction there. And then now I'm going to go out and meet people just in my everyday life. So I'm expending more energy then. And I'm tired and I really don't feel like doing it. I mean, I'm being completely honest and upfront. I don't feel like doing it. So I feel like I'm not really being my authentic self when I'm giving this person, I'm saying whatever I'm saying to this person when I'm talking to them. So that's the
Hmm.
part that bothered me,
Hmm.
because I felt like I was never true, that I really truly wasn't connecting with the people. I was building a lot of transactional type of relationships that when I interacted with people, they would, they're instantly thinking, well, she's calling me because she's trying to sell me something. Not that
Hmm.
I genuinely care about them or want to know about their family or how their day was or whatever. But
Hmm.
that was the persona, or really the connection that I built, was more transactional than genuine.
Hmm. So when you were, identifying those things and those obstacles or those pieces that didn't quite feel right, how did you then start to rewrite those rules for yourself and figure out a process for you?
Right. So the process did not really start for me to really figure it out until COVID.
Hmm.
Reason that I say that is because everybody was scrambling at that point. You didn't have a go-to or an expert on how to get leads during COVID because
Hmm.
we were all thrown like, okay, I got to pivot and I'm really not sure what I'm going to do right now. I just got to
Yeah.
figure this out. So that was my aha moment for me because I couldn't go to anybody because they couldn't tell me what they did because didn't nobody knew. And because
Hmm.
of my technical background as a mechanical engineer, I feel like I'm a trained, qualified problem solver. That's what I did all day. So I had to kind
Hmm.
of figure it out. Okay, well, before this is what I did. I really didn't like doing it. I did because I thought it worked because Susie Q told me that it worked. Now
Hmm.
I don't want to do it that way anymore because I don't like the way it makes me feel. So how am I going to do it now? So it was just kind of, I call it just a process of doing an action, so taking action, sucking at that action, evaluating what I did, tweaking it, and then starting all over again. And that's what I did. I mean, that's how you have to do it when you're starting from ground zero and you have no one to go to.
Hmm.
And that's what I did.
How far apart is your process now in 2025 from that pivoting in 2020, would you say? Is it
Oh,
like
it's like
very
night and
much the
day.
same? Night and
No,
day. Okay.
no. Yeah, it's like
Okay.
night and day. I don't connect or interact with people in the same way. I
Hmm.
don't go when I just came from a networking event. I don't
Hmm.
go and give people compliments. That's not how I start the conversation at all.
Hmm.
Another thing is I don't tell people my title. Like if I before I would say my title is I'm an authenticity strategist. Okay, most people will say, "Well, what is that?" Or it would just go over their head and they wouldn't even ask the question. I don't even
Hmm.
introduce myself like that at all. I have, and this is what I teach my community, a one-liner that I say that you
Hmm.
tell people who you serve, how you serve them, and yeah, who you serve and how you serve them. That's basically what it comes down to. So when I interact with people now, I don't say authenticity strategist. I say I help female entrepreneurs with introverted tendencies with their lead generation and sales process with my authentic sales accelerator. And often when I say just that right there, that will get the conversation started because people will go, "Oh, I'm an introvert." Or I mean, it'll
Hmm.
be little stuff like that. Or like one of the ladies that I talked to today was like, "Oh, my business partner is an introvert." So then her next thing was, well, do you use the Myers-Briggs quizzes to identify people that way? Or how, I mean, so it started conversation, which is what you
Yeah.
want. You want to build connection. I think as introverts, that's why we really don't like the small talk. Because when you think about when you talk to somebody and you're just talking about the weather or you talking about the game last night, or you're not really connecting with them. It's kind of like surface level stuff for you to
Yeah.
really be able to connect with people. You kind of tell them a little bit about what you do and who you serve. And based on their natural curiosity, they're going to start asking you questions, which is going to start building the connection. And I think that's
And
really very imperative that we what we need to do.
yeah, and I understand that as you explain that, like 100%. And I was actually just about to ask about the small talk piece of it. Like, what does lead generation look like for introverts who hate cold pitching or hate that
Right.
random small talk? Like where do they start? You just gave a great example. But what would you say to like I have a lot of students and folks in my community who you know, they are nervous about networking events. They don't know how to be in them and what to
Right.
do, and they might be a wallflower.
Right.
What does that look like?
What it looks like is first and foremost, before you go to a networking event, you got to be prepared. I think oftentimes
Hmm.
people are just going just to go. They really don't have a plan in mind. And that's
Yeah.
why they feel like that. That's why they feel like a wallflower. We have to be intentional when we go. So first and foremost, that's one of the things that I teach the folks in my community is you got to have that one liner. That one
Hmm.
liner, you will be dazed, glazed, and amazed by how that one liner will attract the person that you're looking for to you just by
Hmm.
merely you saying what you're saying. I had a training last week and it happened just like that. Two of the ladies, we worked on their one liner. They got their one liner. Initially, they started talking, and they
Hmm.
just randomly started talking. But when we sat down and worked on their one liner, and then they started talking again, it was like night and day. They were
Hmm.
they were so in an alignment with one another, and they fully understood what each other did to the point that they could offer referrals. They wanting to then more connect more and build a deeper bond with one another by having a follow-up meeting. But all of that happened because that one liner really allowed people of like mind to be attracted to one another and then would allow the relationship to grow further. But when you're just
Hmm.
going and telling somebody that, hey, I'm a lawyer, or hey, I'm an accountant, that doesn't mean that does not resonate with you in any way. You have new that doesn't give you a deeper understanding of what that person does, or even if you can empathize with what they do or who they serve, because you're just giving them just a one word answer that doesn't
Hmm.
clearly define who they serve. And oftentimes, what I find is people really haven't taken the time to really think through that because a lot of folks have this mentality that they serve everyone. When in actuality, when you have that mentality, you're truly serving no one. When you can't really call out the person that you identify with and want to serve, that's how you're going to expand your business through relationships. That's how the networking event becomes something really powerful, that you're not just collecting cards, because I hear that a lot too. Oh, networking events are not very effective. Well, why aren't they? Because people don't get to know each other. Yeah, you're right, because you haven't taken the time to prepare and have that one liner, or what I've heard the old way of saying it, elevator speech, that people can really truly connect with you, because it needs to be that. It can't just be rattling off a job title, because that's not building connection at all.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. And I know what you mean. Like if someone was a lawyer, that could be such a big umbrella
Figure,
that could,
exactly.
all kinds of clients, all kinds of work, all kinds of specialties. Like that makes a
Exactly.
lot of sense. And I would imagine too that when your clients take the time to develop that one-liner with you, it probably helps them feel maybe less like not feel so fake. Like sometimes when
Right,
I'm trying to,
exactly. Yep,
explain that like, okay, it's defined. I now feel authentically connected to my own one-liner, and it allows me to make those real connections because I'm less exhausted, I'm less scrambling. I have a clearer way to say it.
right.
So that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yep.
So how do you work with your clients to help them create that one-liner? Could you talk about the process a bit inside your community and how that comes together?
Yeah, so I have a monthly in-person networking event, and it's
Hmm.
called Network like an Introvert, which I teach them before they come. I'm a firm believer, and this is just a note for anyone that works for introverts. Introverts don't do good shooting from the lips or the hip. Okay, so if you really want us to give you a thought-provoking answer, you have to give it to us early, so we have time to think about it, aka marinate on it, to give you something extraordinary. I'll say it that way. If you give us that time, you will be amazed on what we'll be able to tell you. So, what I do when they sign up for the event is I encourage them to work on their one liner before they get there. Now,
Hmm.
does everybody do that? No, because, sometimes people just don't read the email. But for those people that do, they come in prepared, but we go over that when you come. So I'm a firm believer is I'm going to share how to do something. I'm going to show you how to do it because I'm going to share mine, and then I'm going to want you to do it. And then every time that you come to the networking event, I'm hoping that you're going to get a little bit better and become a little bit more comfortable in doing it, so that when you go to other networking events outside of this little cocoon, of the cocoon that I have developed for you as an introvert, that you can then use those skills in your bigger networking events too. The strategy
Hmm.
that I've given you to be able to connect with people, having that intention, knowing how many people that you're going to connect with, knowing the type of people you're looking for. Are you looking for the collaboration partner? Are you looking for a referral partner? Are you looking for clients? Knowing that before you go in, so that when you interact with people, you have an intention, you know how many people that you're looking for, and you already can spit out what you're going to say. So that's going to take away a lot of the super thinking and trying to figure out how you're going to say stuff, because that's what introverts do. You've done all that pondering before you got there. So it's going to make it just, especially if you practice it, you'll just be able to say it and keep it moving. That's going to make you
Hmm.
more comfortable when you do that on a regular basis.
And this, the when you're working with them to create that one-liner, are you following like a formula that you've developed? Is it
Mhm.
kind of different for everybody?
No, no, it's a formula. It's I
Hmm.
help your target market
Hmm.
achieve the transformation that you provide. So that's the formula right
Okay,
there.
got it.
That's the formula. And
Got
then
it.
you put whatever your, who you serve, how you serve them, you put that in there, and then we just
Hmm.
kind of practice it, and we talk through it.
Hmm.
And my goal is to make sure another thing introverts like to do is if they find somebody that they really connect with, they want to stay with that person, right?
Mm,
The whole point of of the networking event is for you to mingle.
mm, yeah,
So I
right.
make them move, and they'll go,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, Inga, nope, that's not what you didn't come. You didn't come here just to talk to her. You got to move and
Mm-hmm.
talk to somebody else." So I force them to do that. Now, granted,
Yeah,
I'm hoping in a bigger setting that they're by themselves, they would force themselves to do that. But I
right.
force them because I know that they're comfortable talking to whoever. I mean, they've built a connection. It's just like, oh, this is so good. They say introverts don't like to talk and that we're antisocial. But when we start talking about a concept or an idea, we could talk for days if we
Mm-hmm.
really built that connection with the person. So it's very imperative that you move around and build those other connections too, because oftentimes our community is very small as an introvert. We don't have a whole lot of friends. We just have more quality, more so than quantity when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
associates. Yeah.
What about some folks who might live in the middle of nowhere? They don't have networking events around them physically. Maybe
Right.
they like to attend online networking
Right.
events or try to
Exactly.
build an online community.
Yep.
How can they do these same, skills and tips
Yep.
translate?
Same
Mm-hmm.
thing translates. Yes, it does. Yep, it
Mm-hmm.
does. It
Mm-hmm.
does.
And I would imagine I'm thinking of like when you're saying that you make them move around. I guess that's kind of like a Zoom breakout room or
Yep.
something, right?
Yep. So they make, yeah. So in a Zoom
Yeah.
breakout room, they make you move around too, depending on what kind it is. I mean, you have some that's kind of like a speed dating type of thing. I
Mm-hmm.
know introverts do better one-on-one than in a group kind of setting. So a
Mm-hmm.
speed dating type of setting would probably do good for them. After they did that, they would also have to schedule in time to recharge because, like I had mentioned initially, we gain our energy from solitude. So
Yeah.
expending a lot of energy interacting in kind of a speed setting on virtually is going to
Mm-hmm.
tire us out. So after that, I would not schedule a meeting directly after that. You would have to go do something. And typically,
Mm-hmm.
I know what I like to do is I like to go walk around my neighborhood just to kind of clear my head. It
Mm-hmm.
just kind of recharges me. It makes me feel a whole lot better. You'll have some people that maybe want to read. You have some people that may want to watch a quick episode on Netflix just to kind of be by themselves to rejuvenate. Whatever your thing is, go do that for maybe 15, 20 minutes or however long you feel like you need to get yourself back to the point where you can talk again and then
Mm-hmm.
and then talk to the next person. But you got to have a buffer in there between your meetings. We don't do
Yeah.
back to back.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
The one-liner that you create, do you also then pull that into your online marketing, like your digital collateral and all of that stuff too, or is that specifically for a networking event?
No, I think it would help you with your content
Mm-hmm.
because I think that's when I talk to people about their lead generation, I feel like that's the biggest thing that holds people back is figuring out who their target market is. I
Mm-hmm.
cannot tell you how many times I've heard people tell me it's everybody. And
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
just not getting that aspect of you got to call out who you're looking for. And everybody is not calling out anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So really making sure that they truly understand that. So yeah, that would help them in their branding and their content marketing and their um as far as their landing pages and all of that
Yeah.
stuff that's going to attract more people to them because they know exactly who they serve, which I think is primary level of importance when it comes to your marketing.
And do you have any advice on how people might want to land on that? Like if they're thinking, I can work with everybody, I want to help everybody, I can, what are some of the things that they can um question themselves about or lean into to really understand who it is they want to help? Like that one unique person, that one unique, group or whatever. How can they kind of start pulling that together to narrow it down?
Right. Oftentimes, and I know personally for me, it was this way too. The people that you're helping are probably who you were 2 to 5 years ago because of
Yeah.
the transformation that you have gone through or the journey you've gone through to become this new person. So thinking about how you were 2 or 3 years ago to
Mm-hmm.
come up with, okay, well, what was I like? What kind of things was I looking at? Where did I hang out? Those are the kind of things that you're going to want to ask yourself when it comes to who you're serving. Um, and I think it also, people have a tendency to think because they are being really focused on who they're serving, that they are not going to be able to serve a wider audience. But what I have found is that when you come up with a smaller niche that you are truly serving and supporting, that your niche are going to be your cheerleaders to share it with other folks. And that's
Mm-hmm.
really how the narrow focus becomes wider, because they're telling everybody, all these other people about you that may not necessarily be in your niche, but when you serve them and serve them well, that's how your niche will expand.
And I've experienced that myself, and I've shared about this on other episodes, how that kind of started happening for me without me even planning it,
Hmm.
through finding a niche in, particularly with acupuncturists, but in a grander sense, health and wellness, like holistic wellness businesses, where someone referred me to somebody else, referred me to somebody else, and then I found out that I was being recommended in these big Facebook groups and all this stuff, and I didn't know that. And I was,
Right,
having people reach out to me and, oh, so and so and this and that. And so now that's become a big piece of my business. And I've been starting to tailor more and more of my stuff, to people under that umbrella, but not fully in a strategic way just yet. I'm still kind of meandering through those decisions, but
right,
it's been interesting to see. And it's exactly what you said. It's like, those folks were passing my name around essentially, kind of behind my back, but in a nice way.
right,
And, led to other folks reaching out, which was very cool.
right.
Um,
And then
and
it
so,
also helps when you're first starting out too, because you know who you're looking for. I think
yeah,
if you have the mentality that you're serving everybody, that you don't know who to look for. Like when it comes down to doing your direct outreach, because the referral stuff is great, but when you're first starting out, you don't have a referral. So how
right.
are you going to figure out how are you going to get the referrals if you don't know exactly who you're serving in the beginning? That's where it becomes the scramble. I think people miss it. They don't understand that aspect of it. That just
Hmm.
because you're posting something on social media, for someone that's built a business and have that referral attraction because their community is telling other people about them, yes, they can build their business that way. But when you're first starting out, you have to hone in exactly to who you're looking for so you can expand and grow that way. So I just wanted to
Yeah.
say that too,
Yeah.
because I hear that a lot. Oh, I do it based on word of mouth, but the only way you're going to get word of mouth is to actually serve the person that you truly want to serve first. That's how the word of
Hmm.
mouth happens.
Hmm. That's a very good point. Yes. Um, and so heading into like the sales process for entrepreneur or for introverts, something that I would imagine, and I've even heard this in my groups, the folks who are afraid to annoy, potential clients. They're afraid to bombard them with follow-up emails or texts or, just the follow-up process itself. How would I keep saying entrepreneur, how would an introvert find some ways to kind of cope with the feelings that might come up about, I don't want to be annoying, I don't want to intrude, they'll get back to me if they want to. Like, how does that sales process work when you are an introvert?
I think it's very imperative for you to first and foremost be able to filter the people that want what you have and the people that don't. I
Mm.
think the annoying part comes in when you don't know where the people stand. That's where the
Hmm.
annoying part. If you've already developed a relationship with your community and your clients, and you are truly looking from your point of view to assist them versus annoying them, people are annoyed by people that are bothering them and don't want what they have. When you are
Hmm.
providing a service and giving them value packed information or a value packed product, then you're not annoying. you're offering the product to them. If they want it, great. If they don't, that's fine too. But it's definitely making sure that you know in the beginning where they stand. So
Hmm.
that's why it's imperative for that's even more of a reason why the everybody thing doesn't work. Because if you
Yeah.
go from that mentality, you don't know where they stand.
Hmm. Yeah, that's very true. And also, like, how can folks shift from the feeling of I'm selling you something to I can help you, or really believing in what they have to offer, um, as a way or as something that folks truly need. Like I feel like sometimes we don't believe in our stuff, and um, we project and we let other people's body language or facial expressions, or we place meanings on things that aren't necessarily real, and then we lose confidence in our experience, our offers, our services, everything that we want to do to help others. How can we kind of shift our mindset around that?
But I think, and it's part of what I call my A game.
Okay.
The A game, the first part of it is you have to ask instead of assume.
Hmm.
I think that is very imperative when you have to ask that qualifying question to determine if that person is your person. That is one of the biggest things that was just an eye opener for me when I was making that transition of doing what somebody extroverted is telling me to do compared to what I want to do, what makes me feel good. I felt like before I was being taught to assume that everybody wanted my product.
Hmm.
Everybody doesn't want my product. That's why I have to ask to figure out who actually wants it, not assume that everybody wants it, because that's not the case. And then once I ask the question, that qualifying question, then I can say, okay, well, based on what they just told me, she's not my person. So why do I even need to talk to her? And
Yeah.
so then it becomes I'm filtering more so than convincing. Because that was the part that I feel is annoying. Somebody trying to convince me. I've told you no. And now you're trying to convince me that my no should really be a yes. Yeah, that's the
Hmm.
part that is annoying to me. I want to attract people to them. I mean, attract people to me. I don't want to annoy them. And when you're annoying somebody, you're not attracting. They really don't want to have anything to do with you. That's when you're ghosted. That's when people don't want to be bothered with you. That's when you kind of get that eerie feeling because you've annoyed them. You haven't
Hmm.
attracted them, and that's the difference.
Hmm. That's a really good point. Yeah. Um, and I think being able to do that pre-qualifying early on, like what you're saying, it also will save mental anguish,
Oh yeah.
energy,
Yep,
all
it
of that
will.
stuff, not just admin work, but the actual like mental space, mental
Yep.
capacity for that. So that makes a lot of sense. Something that I've also gotten a lot of questions about are folks who maybe they have a full-time job
Mhm.
and they have a side hustle, or maybe they're thinking of starting a side hustle, but they have never been a business owner before. Maybe they are, they're shy, they're introverted. Maybe they have a, kind of a cubicle type job. They're kind of in their own silo. What are some questions or practices that they might try to um, believe in themselves more, to give this a shot if it's something that they're really interested in trying in their life, starting a business, knowing that, okay, I have some of these, shyness or social struggles. What would you say to them?
I would say that you're gonna have to step out your comfort zone, girlfriend. I mean, if
Hmm.
you want to really do this or really try or even see that it's gonna work for you, you're gonna have to do it. I mean, that's really what it's gonna come down to. And I know that from experience. I know when I was deciding if I wanted to take that leap. Not saying that you just have to quit your job completely, because I don't want you to think you have to do that. I think it's kind of wise to be able to have some income coming in, because when you're first starting out, you're trying to figure it out and you're not going to be making any money. So you got to have a way to be able to support yourself. But in the
Hmm.
meantime, in between time, you have to step out of your comfort zone. And I can just tell you that that courage muscle is going to build every time that you do. I know plenty of times that I was scared, to death about going up and talking to somebody. But after I did it, it was just like, okay, well, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It always seems worse when you don't do it, when you're not taking the action. But the key
Mm-hmm.
thing to it all is to just start. You got to start somewhere. And even if
Mm-hmm.
it's just something that you do that's a small step, and just continue to do that stuff consistently over time. That's what's going to help you get out of your comfort zone. That's what's going to help you talk to people that you don't know. That's what's going to help you develop that one liner, that because you have the one liner, you'll be able to attract people and just naturally be able to talk to them just based on curiosity. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be this magical formula that you have to do that oftentimes I think people think they have to be so charismatic talking to somebody.
Yeah.
It's something that evolves over time, and the more you do it, the better you get at it. So just do it. Just start.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that so much. Just like anything, the more
Uh,
that you do something, the easier it gets, the more comfortable it gets, and the more you can adjust it and refine it. And it's like riding a bike or,
yep.
like it really does get easier. And one big thing that I wanted to just touch on here as we wrap up is, um, I often get feedback and questions from folks and even from podcast listeners who maybe they've had a business for a while, or maybe they're about to start one, whatever. They're at different places.
Right.
But one of their biggest fears is I don't want to, I don't want my friends and family to judge me based on what I put out, what my business is, people I went to high school with. I don't want them knowing I'm doing this. I don't want my mom to see, and so how do you kind of balance that where you have to get it out there, you have to tell people what you do. That's how you get people to pay attention, but you're also having these feelings of those in your personal life, you know, judging you, which might not even be true, but you're
Right.
worrying
But you're
about it.
feeling that way. You're feeling
Yeah.
that way. Right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess when it comes to that, you have to decide what's more important to you. Them having an opinion of you, which you have probably no control over anyway, or you really walking out whatever you're passionate about.
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, all of us suck. I think we just really just need to. I think when you're first starting something out, you think you're like the only one that's doing it, and for whatever
Mm.
reason, you focus on yourself, but just kind of reframing it, just thinking whoever the person was, like, okay, let's use Oprah. Oprah Winfrey at some time had never been on TV or had never done an interview or had never talked in front of people, right? She
Hmm.
sucked. And granted, we look at her and just say, oh, she's just so great. But how did she become so great? Because she kept doing it, because she tried it out and she tweaked. She did that kind of cycle I told you about. She took the action, she sucked at it, and she tweaked, and then she did it again. We
Hmm.
all go through that. So knowing that everybody sucked at one time before they
Hmm.
mastered it, I think will kind of take the pressure off of you, where you're reframing and saying, well, everybody had to go through this. So why do I think I'm going to be the one that's going to just masterfully get this just for me doing it one time? It doesn't work that way.
Hmm.
Everybody else sucked. I'm going to have to suck too. And if they can do it, I can do it too.
I love that. Everyone starts somewhere. It's such a simple but important thing to remember, because especially with social media, we're only seeing the highlights reel. We're only seeing, all the high points and the
Right.
accolades, and yeah.
Exactly. And that's what
So
people show, right? That's what people show.
hmm
And I wanted to say to you,
hmm
I you sent the email about when you had a Zoom and nobody came.
hmm
And I thought that was so profound, because most of the time people don't want to show that aspect of it. But I'm sure that you got a lot of feedback on that, because people could relate to that. They knew
hmm
exactly what you were talking about when it
Yep.
came to that. And I mean, I've had that for sure happen. And just for the fact that you highlighted that, I just thought was so awesome. And that's why
Well,
it's so
thank you.
imperative for people to share that part of it, because we see the Oprah, right? But we don't see when she first started off, maybe she was stuttering or something like that. We don't see that
Hmm.
aspect of it where we could be like, "Oh my gosh, she stuttered too." I mean, where
hmm
we could really relate to them.
hmm
I can think of a person that I was gonna do business with, And apparently the workshop that she had planned didn't go well. And I think I was the only person that wanted to register. Well, she didn't want to do it. She didn't want
Mm,
to do it. And after she told me, "Oh, well, Inga, I'm not doing it." I didn't at that point, I was just like, I will not do business with you at all
mm,
because you just gave up. Why would you just give up? Why couldn't you give, even if it was just me that was
mhm,
going to the workshop? Why couldn't you just give me your all and it be a learning experience for you?
mhm,
But she didn't want to do that. So for
mhm.
everybody that's listening and you're down in the dumps that maybe you have that zero person, I think you should go ahead and do the Zoom. You should have that experience, record yourself, go back and look at it so you can tweak it so when the next time you schedule it, you're going to be that much better when you have people there. But walk it out, do it. Don't just sit on your hands or pout and be mad that you didn't get everybody there like you wanted to. Walk it out and do it.
I love that so much. And thank you for mentioning that. It stung a little in the moment, but at the same time, it was like, okay, well, I've gotten that out of the way. That's happened. So now I know how that goes if that ever happens again.
Right.
And yeah, I did get a lot of feedback afterwards on people writing back and commenting and, just, oh, I've been there. Yep. Anyone who said that this hasn't happened is lying. Like,
They're
so
lying. They sure are. They are.
um, so I have just loved this conversation so much. I really just appreciate you chatting with us today and showing how quiet leadership is absolutely powerful and like actual tangible ways that folks can get started on these tips right now to create that one-liner, to have more belief in themselves, to push themselves outside of their comfort zone in ways that are not, crazy scary, but just different.
Right.
And I'm going to put all of your links in the show notes for sure. So make sure everyone visit the show notes and grab all of Inga's links. But in the meantime, tell us where to find you online. How can folks learn more about you and check out what you do?
Yeah, so I am pretty much on all of the social media platforms at Inga Fay Unplugged. So Instagram, Facebook, um, LinkedIn, as well as, I guess those are pretty much the ones I frequent the most. But yeah, so I'm all on there for sure. You can
Hmm.
also go to my website, which is just Inga Fay, that's INGA fay.com. So you can reach out to me there. All of my information is there as well. I have all of my social media platforms there, so we can definitely stay connected that way. So that would be the best way to connect.
Okay. Awesome. Well, Inga, thank you so, so much for joining us today. I learned a lot. I absolutely need to create my one-liner because I'm 8 years in and I still don't have it. So that is homework for me, 1,000%. Thank you so much for that. And I just hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for chatting with us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. I'll talk with you soon.
Bye for now.
Bye bye.